Welcome to The Voiceover with your host, D. Foster III, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the culture with bold, independent commentary. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and encouraged.
Welcome to the Voiceover Now podcast. I'm your host, D. Foster III. It is Friday, but it's 6 o'clock. We want to say thank you for joining in. Hey, listen, you know the spill. At the beginning, this is going to be straight, no chaser. Like, share, subscribe, and follow. Put this link in your contact and send it out. I'm sure, regardless of race, creed, religion, economic background, educational background, this podcast, this show is going to hit you somewhere. I am so excited. It's October. I feel fall in the air. And again, I want to apologize. I always say that technology is great as long as it works. We had some technical difficulties on last week. We couldn't record and we couldn't upload, but we're back here with another show, Straight No Chaser. It is 6 o'clock somewhere on Friday. Listen, have you followed us on our social media pages? It is WGNINC on X, WGNINC, Wake Up Global Media, and the Voiceover Pod on TikTok. The Voiceover Pod on TikTok. I am so excited. Hey, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the owner and operator, April J, for allowing this tremendous platform, giving us a voice to express our opinions and to make clarion calls and to deal with situations that, hey, just to be honest, a lot of people don't want to deal with. But that's why you tune in every single Friday. And if you don't tune in live, shout out to the replay crew. What's up, replay crew? What's up, replay crew? I want to say, do you join us every Sunday morning for the Voice of Hope Connection? Yeah, it's 7 a.m. upload. And of course, you can get and be a part of the replay crew on that. But it's something about getting it live on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just give you a brief word of encouragement and inspiration to get you through the week. Can you believe it's the last quarter of the year? Almost Christmas. The holidays are here. Almost another brand new year. 2025 is going to be life-changing. I'm telling you prophetically, it is going to be a very different year. After the elections, I prophesy to you that this country will never, ever be the same again. That's something different. I'll get on that on maybe on another 2 or 3 weeks. But there is a massive change going on in the earth, on the planet, on the globe, and things leading up to the election are going to be intense. But I tell you, when a man or woman builds their house on the stone, on the rock, they don't have to worry about the winds and the rains coming because their house will stand. How did I get off on that tangent? Because that's what I do. That's what I do. That's what I'm anointed to do, to bring the word. But anyway, today's subject, I want to say thank you again. Like, share, subscribe, follow. If you're ready for intense conversation, you're listening to the right podcast, the Voice Over Now podcast. Today's conversation is, I'm telling you, today's conversation is a conversation that I want to have that is very close to my heart. If you've listened to any of my interviews, you've always heard me mention this attribute that I, to the best of my ability, to every fiber and every bone of my body, try to carry out, and I expect it from those I'm in relationship with also. And that is the characteristic of loyalty, So I found a conversation that I want to bring us into. Come on, like, share, subscribe, follow. That's why I said I believe this conversation is going to hit everybody, regardless of where you stand on politics, economics, race, gender, etc., etc. I believe this conversation is going to hit home. The title I wanted to have on this discussion, come on, y'all. What you waiting for? Come on, smash the like, smash the like, smash the like, smash the likes. Come on, support the channel. The conversation is recapturing the lost art of what it means to be loyal. Now, I know that sounds like a sermon. No, this is not going to be a sermon. I'm going to take you into a conversation that I stumbled upon. But this conversation hit home so fast. I said, this is a conversation that we need to have globally. This is a conversation that I need to bring to my show. This is a conversation that everyone will be able to identify with. Recapturing the lost art of loyalty. Now, you know what I do? I must confess at the beginning of the show that other than being the husband of Shani O'Neal, the ex-wife of former professional basketball player Shaquille O'Neal, and now I think he's a sports analyst. Other than being married to her, Shani, his ex-wife, Shaquille's ex-wife, I have to admit that I've never been a follower or really, I don't mean this to be no shade, but I've just never caught the attention of Pastor Keon Henderson. Now, for those of you that are listening, no, this is not going to be a church theme. This is going to be a principle theme subject today. For those of you who don't know, like I really didn't before I studied for this podcast, know Pastor Henderson. In case you're unaware, Keon Henderson, he is the founder and CEO of the Lighthouse Church and Ministries in Houston, Texas. As a matter of fact, if you looked on the news, one of the other places I saw on the internet was, I think his church was flooded out several months ago through a hurricane that went through Texas. And I know they were temporarily worshiping, I believe it was in a school, and they were raising funds. So that's when I began to hear a lot about Pastor Henderson. I do know from, again, studying from this podcast and doing some research, that Pastor Henderson is under the covering, or his spiritual father is the renowned Bishop T.D. Jakes of the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas. Now stay with me. I'm going somewhere. You know I'm going to build a case. I'm waiting for you to like. I'm waiting for others to come in as we have this very intense discussion. Now, the reason that I'm mentioning Pastor Henderson on this podcast in that he is going to be, I must be honest with you, he's going to be front and center of this show today. It's not because of his messages. To be honest with you, I have not heard a lot of messages that he's preached. I don't tune in just to hear him. It's not because of the size of his church. Texas has a lot of large mega churches. It's not because of who he's married to. I was never a Shaquille O'Neal follower. I was more of a Kobe fan. Actually, it is not because of anything that he has done, and I'm sure that he has done great things in ministry to help people, absolutely. So I'm not disavowing any of that, but I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to be transparent with you. I'm not bringing him. I'm not name calling. You know how some people, they name call, they know people, and they name call. I'm not name calling. I told you I never even kind of followed Pastor until I caught him making a stance that I said, yes, go Keon. So anyway, I'm not mentioning him just to name call or to get your attention, right? No. That's not why he's front and center of this podcast today. But he is because of a strong stance. And oh boy, what a strong stance. I love it. A strong stance that he took that caught my attention doing a recent interview about 2.5 weeks ago with former National Football League quarterback Cam Newton, that came, and I think it went viral on Cam Newton's YouTube page several weeks ago, which then I proclaimed that Henderson recaptured the lost art of loyalty, and his response to Cam's question. Now, you know how Cam is. Cam can poke the bear, right? Cam is a great show. Cam has a great, the Cam Newton podcast, great podcast. Shout out to Cam Newton. But Keon, Pastor Keon, I may call him Keon on here. I may call him Pastor Keon, because whatever he is, he reclaims something that I feel that has been lost, especially in ministry, but in the world at large, right? And so it was in a response to a question that Cam asked him regarding his position to Bishop T.D. Jakes, being your spiritual father and being your pastor and being someone you relate to, and in response, in position, in relative to his controversy, Bishop Jakes' current controversy of being connected to P. Diddy. And so I have to be honest with you. Henderson's response and position toward his spiritual father, I must be honest, restored my hope that loyalty still does exist. Yeah, you saying, what are you saying, D. Foster 3? Oh, I'm D. Foster 3, CEO and president of Wake Up Global Networks International. I was so excited to get into the show that I did not introduce myself properly. So let me give my... Have you liked, have you shared, have you follow? If you're just coming in, welcome. You're coming in on the beginning of a very important conversation. And let me give myself a very proper introduction. D. Foster 3, CEO and president of Wake Up Global Networks International. And I'm so glad that you decided to join us on this Friday or on the replay. Now, let me get back to the story at hand. Yes, like, share, subscribe, follow the channel. You know what we do here. Straight, no chaser. So in response to Cam poking the bear and asking Pastor Keon about his relationship now that T.D. Jakes is unfortunately caught up in some of the controversy with P. Diddy, who was arrested several weeks ago. And so they've been linking the two. Society, the media have been linking the two. And by Pastor Keon being connected to T.D. Jakes, Cam asked him a question, and Keon, Pastor Henderson, took a strong stance in response. And his stance was so strong, it kind of revived my faith that there are people out there who are still loyal even in the midst of controversy. Because, come on, let's face it, anybody can be loyal to anybody when there is no controversy surrounding them. Anybody can walk with anybody when they are on top. Oh yes, anybody can say I'm with you when there are no attacks and no enemies against you. But it's a whole nother, yes, I told you this is going to be close to my heart. There's a whole nother dynamic when everybody is forsaking you and people are walking off and you're having a valley experience like Bishop Jakes is having. But for somebody who is famous and popular and married to a star and written books and have a large church to say, I said what I said, he's still my dad. Bing, bing, bing. Go, Keon. Go, Pastor Henderson. That's right. That's right. Share, like, follow. I mean, this even happened to Jesus. And I got to go Bible for you for a minute, then I'll get back into context. Even with Jesus, he experienced severe disloyalty. Remember, he took care of the disciples. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. And it's always the ones you do the most for, right? Always the ones you do the most for. But anyway, I'm not getting into that. I'm not preaching about loyalty right now. I'm talking about Pastor Keon Henderson's stance in reviving and recapturing the lost art of loyalty in my book, in my opinion. Yes, it's a lost art in my opinion. In my opinion. And that's why you tune into this podcast, because you want to know my opinion. And so Jesus, he had done everything. He had done miracles. He had turned water into wine. He had fed the fish. He had given money. He had given food. He had opened up blind eyes. Then he came in St. John and he said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can have no part with me. And the Bible says, yes, many of them begin to turn away and say, who is this man? Wait a minute, you knew who this man was when he was opening blind eyes. You knew who this man was when he was giving you fish and loaves. You knew who this man was when he healed your sister. And now that he asked for you to stand with him during a difficult time, you say, I don't know who he is. But Pastor Keon Henderson didn't take that stance. Let me read a couple of excerpts and then I'm gonna give you my commentary. And then, of course, this podcast will be over for today. I'm not sure if I'll do a part 2 on this, but while I got you, I'm going to dig right into it. When Cam Newton asked him where his relationship stood with Bishop Jakes after the Diddy controversy, and it was in Henderson's unwavering response. His unwavering response. He did not talk like he did not talk in in gray lines. He did not scramble the lines. He did not talk around the subject. I believe that he revived the stones of loyalty. Thank you, Pastor Keon Henderson. Shout out to Pastor Keon Henderson of the Lighthouse Church in Houston, Texas. Shout out to Pastor. And I believe he showed that loyalty can, and it does, exist to the loyal. Now, allow me to read a few excerpts from the interview, and I'll give my commentary. So when he was asked this by Cam about, and I'm paraphrasing it, where do you stand at? What do you think about the relationship between P. Diddy and Bishop Jakes? I love what he said. He says, in other words, moving on, I'm not even addressing it. Oh Lord, loyalty. I'm not going to even dignify your answer to that, Cam, because they'll never twist my words against my father. They will never twist my words. But this is what he did say. We got a father-son relationship going. And man, the amount of information that this man has poured into me, this is Pastor Keon Henderson that I'm quoting, not just about the Bible. He was there when I closed my biggest real estate deal. He was there when I sold my tax companies. He was there when I got a $7 million loan to buy 24 acres. He was there when I bought 10 acres for $1.5 million and sold it for $3.6, Henderson recalls. And that's just a few things. He was there doing all of that at no charge. But that's what I thought a father was supposed to do the whole way. So I figured, look at this. I figured in exchange for him being a great father, oh my God, Keon Henderson, I'd be a great son. Ooh, like this shit. Ooh, I told you. This is close to my heart. He says, because he was a great, not a perfect. There's no perfect father. There's no perfect son. But because he was a great father, I figure while he's in this valley moment, I'm believing he means I'd be a great son. A great son when he's on the mountain. Great son when he's in the valley. A great son because he's been a great father while I was on the mountain, and he was a great father while I was in the valley. In other words, right? Paraphrasing. He says, and I've tried my best to invest in what he is doing. Oh my God. Reviving the stones. Keon, you almost kind of persuaded me. I'm like Paul when he was talking to Agrippa, and Agrippa said, do you believe? He said, Paul asked Agrippa, do you believe now? He said, that almost persuadest thou me to be a Christian. Keon, that almost persuadest thou me that loyalty still exists at high levels. Almost. But the more I read, the more I'm being persuaded. He says, and he goes on, he says, I've tried my best to invest in what he's doing, whether it's to take hundreds of people to his conferences. See, this reciprocal, that's loyalty. Reciprocal, not what have you done for me lately. Not what have you done for me lately. He says, support his online ministry. Anything that I could do, because for me, the opposite of lazy love is reciprocal, he continued. He said the opposite of lazy love is to reciprocate what you have received. Keon Henderson is my hero for today. If I had some bells, if I had some horns, I would blow them. Shout out to Shawnee's husband, Pastor Keon Henderson of the Lighthouse Church. Now, let me read on. If anybody, and I quote, this is the line that got me. This is the line that says, I need to do this podcast. This is the line that says the world needs to hear this. This is the line that says this is what restores a generation. This is what gives honor on society. This what honors our predecessors. This what honors our ancestors. This next statement, somebody share this with Pastor Keon Henderson, because I'm honoring him today for his honor on the bishop and his honor on loyalty. Notice what he says. If anybody been good to you, I'm going to read this very slow. 1, 2, 3. If anybody been good to you, you got to be good to them. No matter what anybody thinks. This is so powerful. This reviving or recapturing the lost art of. Now, let me tell you why this is so powerful. He's not saying this while Bishop Jakes is a trap. I'm just saying. I'm used to using this example. It'd be different if he was saying this during Manpower when 10, 15, 20,000 men were there and he was at the height, or Woman Thou Loose with 50,000 women were there, and everybody, the newspapers were calling him the Black Billy Graham. No. That would be important too. But he's saying these things when the media and church people and social media have a 24/7 attack on the bishop. Now, I'm not getting into why that's not the subject of this podcast, but the subject is recapturing the lost art of loyalty. He's saying this while the bishop is being attacked on social media and regular media and articles 24 hours a day. And the bishop, nobody is saying, hail, bishop. People are saying, crucify, crucify. He was at parties with whatever. But Keon, that's the focus of this, is saying, I said what I said. We got a father and son relationship. The man been good to me. I'm going to be good to the man even in this season. And I don't give a rat's behind, AKA, I'm paraphrasing, what nobody thinks. Because I ain't letting nobody twist my image of my good father, even while he is in the valley. Go Keon Henderson, Pastor Keon Henderson. A round of applause. If I were in church, I would say stand and give Pastor Keon Henderson a round of applause. We acknowledge you, sir. Like this, share this, subscribe. Take a page out of Pastor Keon Henderson's book. He says, and I finish quoting, I'm good to you because I don't let people determine how I feel about somebody. Ooh, that's powerful. That's powerful. He said, I don't let people poison me about people I'm connected to. He says, I don't do that. You can't do that. Because there's always somebody who don't like the person that you are connected to. And their job is to sow seeds of doubt so that now you can feel about them the way they feel about them. And only the weak-minded, like this, share this, subscribe, follow, succumb to that bull crap. Only the weak, because the strong-minded, we think for ourselves. Come on, let me finish reading. And so he tells Cam, dude, the relationship you and I got, Pastor, where you at? I need you to preach right here on my church. I need you right here to have a conversation. He says, the relationship you and I got, talking to Cam, your biggest enemy can't make me turn my back on you. No, sir, that ain't how I roll, end quote. Woo, he slayed. I got to say that was, see, See, this is what I'm talking about. That's what Henderson, Pastor Keon, I got to call him Pastor now. He deserves my utmost respect. Pastor Keon Henderson of the Lighthouse Church in Houston, that was his response to Cam Newton asking him questions on his podcast about how he felt about the Bishop T.D. Jakes controversy and what he thought about Diddy and Bishop's relationship that he refused to address because it's nobody's business, and really nobody except Bishop Jakes and P. Diddy knows, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is, I believe this is the benchmark of how loyalty functions. That's why I wanted to do a podcast. I believe this is the epitome of loyalty. This is the epitome, especially when he says, I gotta read this again. I'm good to you. Like you good to me? Yes, sir, I'm good to you. Because I don't let people determine how I'm going to feel about somebody who been good to me. Not perfect towards me. Not flawless towards me. But they've been good to me. They were there. And he named those times. And he says there's even more because he goes into the conversation that he grew up without a father, and Bishop filled the hole in the gap that he had for a father, a natural father. And Bishop was like his natural and his spiritual. I'm not getting into the context of Bishop and P. Diddy. That's not what this particular show is about. This particular show is to point out that there is a benchmark of loyalty. That's why I said no matter what race, creed, gender, education, economic background, this podcast is applicable. This podcast is applicable. Yes, it is. No matter what gender. Now, somebody would say, well, yeah, that's blind loyalty. No, let me help you understand. Let me help you understand real loyalty. Now, this rare type of loyalty, it is not blind. You would want to call it blind because it doesn't waver. It makes a stance, an unwaverable stance. It can't be unconvinced. So we call that blind. But let me tell you, blind loyalty is different. It does not mean when you are loyal. See, blind loyalty, you always agree. Blind loyalty, you never ask no questions. Blind loyalty is you never speak truth. Blind loyalty is you never have rough conversations. Blind loyalty is you go along to get along. That's not what this kind of loyalty is. Loyalty is, although I'm going to speak truth, I'm going to have my opinion, I'm going to disagree, we're going to have the rough conversations, but the loyalty part is I'm still in the midst of all of that. I'm going to be there. In the midst of us having rough conversation, in the midst of us maybe not agreeing, in the midst of me speaking the truth, in the midst of you speaking the truth, in the midst of us not kind of coming to an agreement, but the bottom line, we're still both going to be there for one another no matter what happens. That's loyalty. Not agreeing all the time, not never having your own mind, not never speaking the truth. That's blind. This is not blind. This is, hey, I ain't getting involved. I wasn't there. All I know, you my pop. You've been there for me. You've been good to me. I ain't going nowhere. I'm here and I'm going to let everybody else know. You my people. I'm standing with you. And that's a wrap. No more discussion. No more conversation. And you can't change my mind. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you bring up. I ain't got nothing to do with that. All I know, you've been good to me. And that's my time to be good to you. Pastor Keon Henderson, long live, a symbol, a hero who should be slated and stated of what real loyalty looks like. Long live Pastor Keon Henderson. Thank you, sir, for your stance in your unwavering position with your spiritual dad and your pastor during this challenging time in his life. And may the blessing and may the honor of God and the grace of God and the rewards of loyalty that take place in the spiritual realm continue to rest upon you and your family. Because there are spiritual ramifications for loyalty. It has nothing to do with the person. It's a divine principle that will carry each of us far, far in life. Well, if you've liked this podcast, I know it ain't been different. It's been the same talk, straight no chaser that we have each and every Friday. Don't forget, put us in your phone, 6 o'clock, the live upload. If not, be a part of the replay crew. I want to say continue to pray for those who are suffering from the horrible effects of Helena. Nobody thought it would be that bad. As I said on Sunday morning, if you cannot send money, if you cannot go, please send your prayers. You can be present in the midst. Send your prayers, send positive energy of synergy. Whatever you can do to come to the rescue of people that are hurting. Such devastation. But we know that God is a prayer answering God, either by resources, by substance, or by our mouth, decreeing and declaring reconciliation to the people in North Carolina, Florida, and all in Georgia, all down in that area where Helena hit, and even in Florida, in the Carolinas, all in that South region need our prayers, our support, in our participation. All right, I want you to again like, share, subscribe, follow. Don't forget Sunday morning, 7 a.m. for the Voice of Hope Connection. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. Hey, listen, finally, if we've been a blessing, then consider being a blessing to us. If we've been good to you, consider being good to us. You can sow Zelle or PayPal, WAKEUPP03 at gmail.com. Wake up, WAKEUPP03 at gmail.com. We are a tax exempt organization, nonprofit. So please consider sowing seed. Until next week, this is D Foster 3 reminding you, you have a voice. Keep using it. Peace.
Thank you for being a part of The Voiceover. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay connected to our upcoming shows and guests. Instagram at The Voiceover Radio. Twitter at DPropheticI. That's the letter D, prophetic, EYE. If this show has enriched you in any way, please share The Voiceover among your circle. Until next time, keep allowing your voice to be heard.